Hello everyone, it's me again, Steedoj here. The first shout-out comment is by Andrew21. Andrew21 said, is this a dream come true? Guys, have we officially won? We've been asking for this more than a year. Disrespectful finishes of hybrid Saiyans, let's go. That is a video that I've always wanted to make for quite a while, and of course everyone pushed me to make it, so I did my absolute best of it, okay? And the second shout-out comment is by Weeb Freak. He said, his son is kidnapped and could be killed any second. Goku goes fishing. Maybe Dragon Ball Kakarot is actually in an alternate timeline where Goku just doesn't care about anything anymore and he just goes fishing. He's like, oh, my son's been captured? Piccolo, want to go fishing? Bet. Again, if you guys want to shout out, please do leave a comment, like and subscribe, and you might be featured in the next video. If you guys do want to watch this full thing without me in the way, there is a link to that in the description. So could you please check out the description if you do want to see it, because I know some people might get confused and not know what the description is. It's just below this video. But now I'll be talking about Dragon Ball Kakarot. Quite the name, but you know, there's worse game names out there, okay? Or better for some people. I like the font, if that means anything. But this is an open world action game. It has many titles, open world action, open world RPG, but in general you can kind of see this. I would compare the flying to Budokai's flying segments, but just way more in depth. And as you guys see, the map is pretty big. Not like Budokai's where it's just like a sphere that kind of, you know, infinitely rotates on itself. I love the creator effect on Goku lines too. That's just pretty good. Now I have nothing to compare these talking segments to, but I do want to say that the dialogue in the game seems to work. I do like how they did bring back a character like Android 8, and now maybe I just don't remember a lot of early Z, but I don't remember Goku and Piccolo stopping to speak of Android 8 during Gohan's kidnapping. Now, Android 8's purpose isn't just to be a nice cameo character. He actually does give a side quest, which means, yes, we know side quests are in this game. It's not just go here and do exactly this. And it's not going to be like Xenoverses, where you just go and speak to someone, and then the quest instantly starts. You do get the quest, and then you have to actually go to the location of it. I do like the dynamic of that a lot more, because a lot of Xenoverses quests were just canon things that already happen in Dragon Ball, except now you're custom characters in a way. Compared to this game's side quest, which is like, yeah, again, it's more like Budokai, where it'll just be a random thing, like Goku goes off absolutely just to go fight some random thing. Budokai Freeze, for example, there's a side quest on Namek, where instead of fighting Frieza, you can actually just venture off and you'll find Cooler instead. And it unlocks Cooler as a character as well as his, you know, specific traits and things in the story. This side quest by Android 8 is just to go beat up a Red Ribbon Army robot, and of course they're going to start small because it's the beginning of the game. But I'm kind of interested what other side quests we could get, because, you know, potentially, say, for example, some of the movie characters aren't going to be enemies, like Janemba or Broly or Hirudegarn. They'll probably be side quest things. If they're not going to be mainline, they're at least going to be heavily in side quests. And yes, I do want to say I do believe Hirudegarn is going to be a thing in this game, if they go that far, mostly because we know that there's giant enemies in the game, and they seem to actually move, unlike the ones in Xenoverse. They can actually, like, move and catch you and do damage, or not just slow behemoths that miss everything. Now, I do want to actually compare this gameplay more to Ultimate Tenkaichi and maybe Tenkaichi 3, mostly due to the freedom of the characters, but I do feel a lot of Dragon Ball Legends in the movement as well and the gameplay, because a lot of it seems very targeted. Your character does seem like he locks onto things rather than you fly to them yourself like you would in Tenkaichi 3 at least. So yeah, all of the strike attacks, I'm going to call them strike attacks, all of the melee attacks looks like they're targeted, and the blast attacks, they're obviously free to control. Now on the bottom left, you should see stuff like Goku supers and things when he does moves. You can't really see it because, you know, the exclusive gameplay thing is in a way. Guys, I can't remove that, okay? I can't remove myself either from the side, so I'm gonna keep myself there. But you can kind of see it, especially later on when they fight Raditz. Now I will say the art style in the game is pretty interesting. Just by looking at this Goku, you can really tell by his design alone that it's an early Z Goku, if that makes any sense. Even Fighters did the same thing. If you compare Super Goku and Blue Goku to Base Goku, you can clearly tell that in their face there's quite the artistic change. Obviously, the latter Gokus look way more serious and a lot more angular, whereas this Goku is, you know, kind of adorable. I'm just gonna say it. He's a cute boy. Now, where can I find some curvy cuties? There's obviously NPCs that you can speak to that will initiate side quests or just kind of, I don't know, banter. But that line gets me every time I've seen it. Now, there are collectibles that you can do. If you fly through rings, it seems like you'll trigger these collectible segments where you just, you know, pick up stuff. I don't know if this is money or if this is just like, I don't know, I have no idea. But it looks semi-automated. You know what I mean? It looks like you just kind of move your character left, right, or, you know, in the direction of the orbs. Because now it's back to free flying. Whereas before you could tell it was kind of automated where he was going, just that he had to move left and right to pick up the things. This is another interesting one. Goku fishing. This tail thing might catch some of you a bit off guard, but oh well. I don't know why Goku has an attachable tail, but I couldn't really be bothered to ask because Goku wouldn't fish with a fishing rod anyways. But I like the style of this one too. He baits them in and then just completely demolishes them. It's a nice little treat. Honestly, it's something that modern Goku would probably do more now because we know Goku isn't a big fan of water based on his 2 interactions with Frieza and water. So he probably would just bait things out to land instead. I do want to say Goku does run extremely quick in this game. Again, I can't wait to see videos of people like running across the entire open world. And the video is like, I don't know, maybe an hour long of Goku just sprinting at full speed. Also, like, animal killing. I know Peter and maybe some vegans out there won't be big fans of this, but you know what? Goku can't power those muscles on just grass, alright? Eating tree bark isn't going to make him a big, strong boy. I want to say that it looks like this game is going to be exactly about Goku's life. They do put heavy emphasis on campfires and making food and yada yada yada. Now, I'm not going to say Goku's going to have a hunger meter, obviously, but I feel like food could be used for maybe like, let's say you take some damage during a story mission. Your health might not refill at the end of the mission. You have to go out of your way. Yeah, you have to go out of your way to heal your teammates using food by, you know, actually collecting it first. Now, you might just say that this could be tedium or it could be kind of boring or like, oh, who cares? Goku just picks up food, you know. But I think it's slightly interesting because you have to bring up prospects of, let's say there's a big ass fight and at the end of it, the characters just eat. That's kind of like a thing that they do in Dragon Ball anyways. But it's also pretty interesting because when you go on Namek, what are you going to do at the end of every fight? Because there is no food on Namek. Well, at least to my knowledge, the only food would be plants. And we haven't seen Goku eat any plants yet so far. But I do really like the idea that, you know, the size of the food varies to how much health Goku gets back. The reason why they use the fish is probably because the fish gives more health than using, you know, just small deers. You could also see Goku kind of, I don't know, mining, if you want to call it that. You can gather resources by shooting ki blasts at these things on the walls. It's pretty cool. I enjoy it. It looks like it's not on rails, but your character will fly at cruising speed while you fire those things. Maybe there's a hover option. I don't really mind if there isn't because, you know, it doesn't look too hard to hit those anyways. So now, as you can see when Goku's flying, there's extra stuff like search for ki. I'm assuming searching for ki will just make finding things like another example, but yeah, Budokai. In Budokai, you could use a ki or a scouter while you are flying in the open world, and it would kind of show you where things are more evenly. It would show you like the power level of something, or show you random characters. Now, you wouldn't need this for story missions, but for side missions that aren't as easy to spot, if you searched for ki, it would flare up where the main mission obviously isn't. So you would just go to the other direction and say, hey, this looks like an interesting side quest. I want to find out what's here. And, you know, it's cool. It helps you find stuff. Now, as you can see, Goku is actually using food and other resources to power himself up here. I think that's pretty cool because, again, food isn't just for healing. You can use it to power yourself up or just, you know, make Goku a stronger, bigger boy. Now, when you do get to Raditz, obviously, yes, as the story goes, the Piccolo and Goku fight Raditz. That's kind of how it's always been. The interesting thing of this Raditz fight is that Piccolo and Goku will, you know, it's not like a few other games. You will fight them at the same time. If you guys want to compare it to Xenoverse, then sure, go ahead. But it seems like your seems like the support character will not play such an aggressive role like they do in Xenoverse. In case if you guys don't know, in Xenoverse, they always get in the way. They kind of interrupt combos sometimes. It seems like they're playing a more lenient role. You might have to call them out like assists do in fighters. As you can see, Piccolo only attacks when Goku wasn't doing anything. And now Piccolo's bar is on like kind of cooldown. But now he's attacking when Goku does at the same time. And unlike Xenoverse, it's more like Dark Souls where you can get hit by a million different things at the same time. Like there is no invincibility between attacks. You can just get pummeled. It seems like it's like that. Again, he called out Piccolo as an assist and he does his thing. I actually much prefer that. And it does bring up another point I did want to say. This game is kind of a combination of just every Dragon Ball game. And I think that's pretty cool. Here you can see something like Dual Ultimates if you want to go that far and call it that. It's very similar to a Dual Ultimate. You and your guys, you do a small combo and then bang. 2 attacks at the same time. Pretty cool. I am feeling a lot of multiple different Dragon Ball games put into this. Again, if you guys didn't notice, I made comparisons to Tenkaichi, to Budokai, to Raging Blast. I mean, you'll see the Raging Blast mechanic actually come up right now. As well as Burst Limit, if you guys have played that. So that's pretty cool. I do want to say certain fights do have certain phases. As you could just see, it's not that it will phase shift, for example, but the enemies will clearly play different roles. Like, oh, this time they'll go really far and spam blasts. You'll see more of it later, more akin to the one Frieza did. But here's like, yeah, here's a Raging Blast. thing, or a burst limit thing for you guys who don't know, where the characters power up. They even did this in Budokai as well, to be fair. They'd go into like a burst state where they would do extra damage, and maybe more cancels would be available to them and more combos, you know, kind of cool stuff. As you can see, Goku's going completely ham with it, and it kind of looks like Ultra Instinct. That's all I'm going to say, it just looks like it. It's obviously not Ultra Instinct, but it kind of looks like it. Now obviously this effect doesn't last forever, it's timed. I can see the meter for it at the bottom right. As you can see, Goku's bar is going down, and now it's done. But the enemies get theirs now, and I think it makes enemies more tanky. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like they get more super armor. You'll see it when it actually happens with Raditz. But yeah, again, you can see that the enemy will knock you back and put you in a phase where you have to dodge their blasts. Now, I don't know what happens if you try to attack through that. Maybe the projectiles they throw out are just so high priority that it would beat out anything else you throw out. Maybe except obviously like a Kamehameha or something, but I don't know yet, so. It does seem like the combo system for this game is pretty in-depth. I will say it mostly just kind of looks like you might have to just press, you know, X and triangle or square and Y to attack. Whatever buttons you have to press to attack. But it does seem like you can extend combos as Goku did with his fist there, and then he could still drag on the attack. Here's the guard phase where the enemies just kind of go blast crazy. You can see Frieza doing it in the trailer, except Frieza's is obviously way more intense because, you know, he's a stronger villain. But yeah, when the enemy goes in their burst mode, it doesn't last for nearly as long, and they just spam like really high damaging attacks, and then it just kind of ends. So that's kind of the end of the gameplay. That's as far as we got to show. But I will continue to show examples for what I mean when it comes to certain things, for example, the fighter's assist and so on. Again, just want to do a quick run by of how the game is open world. You fly through it, kind of like the Budokai games. Well, not Budokai games in general, like you would in Budokai 2, no, Budokai 3 and Tenkaichi 2. If I recall. In Tenkaichi 2, you would fly through the map, and there was other side quests. I even recall that there's a side quest where you have to fight all of the Great Apes, the Great Ape Baby, Great Ape Raditz, Great Ape Nappa, all of the Great Apes just in a line. So I do want to see, you know, if they'll do stuff like that, because the open world in this game is pretty delicious. It looks better than the ones with the other games. I do like the detail to the map. As you can see, the game does have a fighting phase and a movement phase. The movement phase is pretty chill, as you can tell. You know, Goku's not in a combat. He's not in a combat stance. His flying is more tame. It's not as aggressive with as many turns. It's pretty cool. The combat is very comparable to Tenkaichi 3 or Ultimate Tenkaichi or Raging Blast 2. And if you want to go that far, then yes, even Xenoverse. I wouldn't say Ultimate Tenkaichi is the exact term to use. I would say the way the camera is positioned and the way your characters look is very Ultimate Tenkaichi. Because Ultimate Tenkaichi has very weird game. It's a very weird game. The combat's not exactly like it. I'd say the combat is definitely more like Tenkaichi 3. Characters can be put in stuns, and depending on the rating of the character compared to you at the time, they will have super armor. I noticed that Raditz had a great deal of super armor. I'll even put Tenkaichi gameplay on the screen. I mean, I've been doing that. But the characters have super armor depending on how weak you are at the time. Now, to be fair, for a story mission, Goku is obviously going to do way less damage to Raditz, so Raditz is going to have more super armor for certain attacks. But during like fair play or during like PvP or PvE, like, you know, when you're not playing in the story, for example, a good example is Great Ape Baby would have super armor against everything up to Super Saiyan 3s. So if your character was like a Super Saiyan 3 or higher, they could get through super armor in one hit. But if they weren't, they would have to hit him for quite a bit before the super armor eventually breaks. Super attacks obviously penetrate super armor like straight away. But super armor is an everlasting thing, it seems, in this game. The same way it is in Tenkaichi 3. A good example is Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. His super armor can be broken by anything that's higher than a Super Saiyan. So, for example, if you're like Final Form Frieza or Full Power Frieza, you could probably get through his super armor. And if you're a Super Saiyan 1, I think you wouldn't be able to get through super armor. You'd have to hit him at least a bit before it breaks. But if you're Super Saiyan 2, his super armor is gone in like the first few hits. Obviously, some characters don't transform, so you could say, well, how do they break through the super armor? Some characters are just designed to always go through super armor, regardless of their tier. And there are even power-up phases, for example, in the Tenkaichi games for characters who couldn't transform. When their meter was blue, that would always get them through super armor. And I'm assuming the same thing with Surge in this game. If you're Surge as a character who can't transform, you'll probably just get through super armor regardless. And I think that's actually what I saw when Goku did go Surge. It didn't look like Raditz had any super armor. And for the times he had super armor, it was just kind of combo continuation super armor. Again, for those of you guys who play Tenkaichi games, there's this one action you could do where you punch the character in the gut. And when you do that, it would put them in a long stun animation where you would get to combo a few more basic attacks. It would give them super armor, but no damage reduction. And they couldn't really fight back because they were reeling in pain. So it would let you do a bit more stuff and eventually, you know, a super attack. Because super attacks, you can't really land super attacks out of random in Tenkaichi. It's not as easy as it is in Xenoverse. You would have to put someone at least in a decent amount of stun or a decent amount of knockback before you can do a super attack. So a good example is you gut punch them and then do your ultimate, or you gut punch them and do a super, you gut punch them, power up to max, and then you do a super or something like that. So that's another interesting thing to see. It's combining a lot of Dragon Ball fighting game aspects into one, and that's delicious. Now the only comparison I have with fighters is because the game is 2D. So the fighters can't really be compared to this. But a good example is the assist system. You do have characters that play support roles. So obviously that's the only comparison I can play to fighters. You have a meter that goes up and then it goes down when you use them. And they don't seem to interrupt your combos. If you call them out whenever, it doesn't interrupt your combos, because again, fighters is kind of like Dark Souls where there's almost no hit invincibility when you're comboing someone, which allows multiple characters to attack at the same time, which is fair for you, and then unfair when they do it to you. So I hope you're ready for that. It's gonna go both ways, most likely. Now again, this game was made by the same people that made Storm games, and I think the same people that made the Asura's Wrath games. So again, if you guys know either of the two, you will know that the destruction in those games is quite phenomenal. And of course, they don't show too much in this gameplay thing, so I have to show you trailer examples. A good example is Nappa's Giant Storm. It's the best example in the whole trailer, in my opinion. Nappa's Gigantic Storm, Vegeta's Great Ape Slam, and maybe some of the Frieza scenes. I say maybe because they don't show too much of Frieza, to be fair. But Nappa's Gigantic Storm is a really good example. The only attack I can compare it to from Asura's Wrath is one attack that Chakravartin does, where he raises his hand up and causes a circular explosion. You guys should see on screen now. Except Nappa's is to a much greater scale, because you know the map is bigger and these are Dragon Ball characters. Again, I'm not going to debate who's stronger because that's a wild topic to jump into. But you can see that destruction is very similar. Now, I will say now, I love the effect of Nappa's Gigantic Explosion, Gigantic Storm so much. You can see the effect of radius before it actually casts. And then you can see, you know, the energy just rising in the air as a gigantic rush, and then it comes down into just small flames and explosions. That's beautiful. Again, you have Frieza's attack where he sends out a bunch of, you know, waves, and they all just rush at you. And you can fight back with Ki Blast, because it looks like it'd be a bit of a mess to try and run in there and punch him. So you can see in the trailer that they're choosing to fight him at range. And the same thing happens in Asura's Wrath. Some characters are just too overpowered to attack during certain parts. So you would just, you know, hit them with waves, rather than, you know, go up to them and beat the hell out of them. Because during that point, I mean, you can, but you'd most likely die. So we can't tell if the massive, like, scale destruction, like, you know, all of the... I mean, you guys have seen the Naruto destruction. There's massive orbs that take up, like, continents. There's beams that go all the way to space. There's swords that slice mountains for miles. It's crazy stuff. And of course, Dragon Ball doesn't have as many unique attacks as Naruto. A lot of the attacks vary from giant beams to gigantic orbs. So they'll kind of change in comparison. I know a lot of people are speculating if it will go to like Super, or if it's just going to end on a Frieza Saga. Guys, it's not going to end on a Frieza Saga. The game comes out in 2020. They still have so much things to show us. Can you imagine? They can't just show you the end of the game now. That doesn't. Which game has showed you the very end of the game? Like, before the game even has an actual release date. Like, yeah, we know the game comes out in 2020. So there's still a lot of stuff to show off. I mean, again, there could be like another Dragon Ball thing, or maybe Bandai will announce a stream where they're like, oh, we're going to show off some Dragon Ball Kakarot stuff. And then in the stream, they'll show like a Cell Saga trailer or a Boo Saga trailer. You know what I mean? But I will say, the people that are commentating over this, you'll have to watch the last video, or I'll see if I can find the exact clip where they say it. The people who are commentating over this do say, will this go past Dragon Ball Z? And they are kind of iffy on that.
So I think the name kind of gives you a little bit of a hint. It's called, of course, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So that, you know, the implication is we're going to be following Goku's experience in life through mainly the Z franchise.
So I don't believe this will go past Z. But, guys, we live in a time where DLC exists. They will obviously just make the DLC for Super content. Now, obviously, they are still going to need DLC. So they can't put everything in the game, because I don't think they could stuff everything that is in the tournament power into this game in such a short amount of time. That's kind of hard. So you can't blame them for that. So I think DLC wise, they'll just be stuff like the Goku Black Saga, Universe 6 Tournament, Tournament of Power, Dragon Ball Super Broly, etc, etc. Even then, we know that they're making a new Dragon Ball Super movie. They haven't told us anything about it yet, but we do know they are making a new Dragon Ball Super movie, and who knows, this game might actually feature stuff from it. Because again, when Xenoverse 1 came out, it featured, it featured Battle of God stuff on release, because that was new at the time. The same thing with Xenoverse 2, which, you know, featured Goku Black stuff. Very late, but it featured Goku Black stuff regardless. Because, you know, all of that stuff was new. And who knows, yeah, Battle of Z is another thing. Battle of Z featured Battle of Gods as well, because that was new at the time, although Battle of Z is bad, so we don't talk about that. But yeah, again, I think that's everything for this game that I can come up with at the moment. So I'm really sorry if it was too much or if it was too little. But again, don't forget, if you want to see the full gameplay of this without me talking over it, it's just in the description. So please check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like on it to show your support. Let me know if you like this game in the comments down below. In fact, you can let me know if you like this game by just leaving a like on the video. Subscribe for more Dragon Ball content or just content in general. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.